The crystal throne room of Velter Prime stretched endlessly in all directions. Towering pillars of obsidian soared into the shadowed heights above, each engraved with the names of conquered civilizations. The floor beneath gleamed with polished bone collected from thousands of species, most now extinct or enslaved. At the heart of this vast chamber sat King Zarek, sovereign of the hegemony and feared across the stars. Zarek stood 12 feet tall, his massive frame sheathed in ancient armor untouched by defeat. His arms rested heavily on the sides of the throne, each hand powerful enough to shatter steel. Atop his head sat the ceremonial war crown, a twisted circlet of metal adorned with the preserved eyes of fallen rivals. His voice, when it rang out, echoed like a storm. "Bring me the reports," he commanded. From the shadows stepped a slight figure, Villa, his chief intelligence officer. She moved cautiously, her aged and fragile body hunched with the weight of both time and fear. In her trembling grasp was a glowing datapad. "My lord," she said, voice quivering. "The Outer Rim sectors report full compliance. Sector 779 has surrendered without resistance. The population has been assigned to labor." Zarek gave a slight nod, content. For 3 millennia, his royal armada had swept across the galaxy like an unstoppable force. Every world that glimpsed his crimson banners knew their fate. His ships were city-sized dreadnoughts, capable of tearing a planet apart. His soldiers, bred for war, felt neither fear nor mercy. "What of the border systems?" he asked. "All conquered, my king. The Claire system fell last month. The Tronian colonies have been integrated. Even the Mordok warrior clans now serve the hegemony." Zarak's lips twisted into something that might resemble a smile on another face. On his, it was the expression of a predator. 3,000 years of domination, and still, no force had stood against him. The galaxy belonged to him. Every living being within it existed only by his decree. "Is there truly nothing left?" he asked, almost disappointed. Vela hesitated, checking her datapad. "There are... the outer spiral territories. Our scouts have been charting them. Most are uninhabited, but a few systems show signs of primitive life." "Primitive," Zarak leaned forward, intrigued, double quotes, "Yes, my lord. Gas miners, asteroid harvesters, minor colonies with limited spaceflight capability. None pose any threat to your rule." Zarok was about to dismiss the news when the throne room doors parted again. This time, it wasn't a fearful underling who entered. Ambassador Kenna of the Galactic Council walked forward. Her blue skin set her apart, member of one of the few species allowed to maintain a shred of independence. "Under hegemony rule, Your Majesty," she said, bowing low but without trembling. "I bring urgent news from the Council." Zarek narrowed his eyes. He viewed the Galactic Council as a collection of weak races playing politics under the illusion of relevance. He tolerated their existence out of amusement. But Kenna had proven herself useful and intelligent. "Speak," he commanded. Kenna stepped forward and activated a holoprojector. A spinning 3-dimensional map of the galaxy appeared between them, rotating in midair. She pointed to a small region near the outer fringe far from the galactic core, deep in territory the hegemony had yet to consume. "Our deep space scouts detected an anomaly in this sector." She explained. "A solar system with several planets. One of them has reached faster than light travel." Zarek studied the projection. The system was tiny, insignificant, a lone star with a few planetary bodies orbiting it. Yet something about it held his gaze. "What are they called?" he asked. "Humans, my lord. They inhabit the 3rd planet from their star called Earth. They have no unified government, a fragmented military, and their technology is vastly behind ours." The king rose from his throne, casting a towering shadow across the hall. This was intriguing, a fresh species to conquer, a new world to claim. From the sound of it, resistance would be minimal. "How many ships would be required?" he asked. Vela responded quickly. "For a planet of that scale and development, perhaps 50 vessels. 100 if they prove difficult." Zarek let out a metallic laugh. 50 ships for one backward world? He turned toward his gathered war council, his voice rising. You underestimate the power of an example. From the assembled commanders, War Admiral Veximal stepped forward. The king's most seasoned general, Veximal, bore the scars of 100 campaigns. His uniform carried medals earned in blood and fire. My lord, prepare the royal fleet, Zarok ordered. All of it. Gasps rippled through the chamber. The royal fleet was the pinnacle of the hegemony's might 2,000 warships, each a technological marvel of destruction. It had never been fully deployed against a single foe. Lesser forces had conquered entire systems. My king, Admiral Dixel, said cautiously, surely that is excessive for one undeveloped world? Zarok's gaze turned cold. Do you question me, Admiral? Never, my liege. Only meant the royal fleet will serve as a warning, Zarok interrupted, not only to the humans but to the entire galaxy. Let them all witness what happens when one dares to exist beyond my reach. Dixel bowed low. As you command. How long until departure? You leave within the week. No survivors. No mercy. Reduce their world to a lesson no one will ever forget. Ambassador Kenna watched with growing dread. She had witnessed hegemony campaigns before, but this felt different, excessive. 2,000 warships against a species barely reaching the stars. It was like crushing a fly with a super weapon, my lord, she began. If I may suggest, you may not. Zarok cut her off. The decision is made. These humans will understand what it means to exist in my galaxy. Over the following days, the royal fleet began to gather. Ships converged from every corner of the empire, colossal vessels gleaming with weaponry. Even the smallest were half a mile long. Veximal's flagship, the Crimson Death, stretched nearly 10 miles. As the fleet assembled, fear spread like wildfire. News traveled fast across civilized space. Entire systems wondered who had earned the king's wrath. Old enemies trembled, unsure if they were the target. Allies sent tributes, desperate to avoid doom. On the bridge of the Crimson Death, Admiral Veximal stood tall, watching the final preparations. Around him, officers moved with disciplined precision. They had launched invasions before, but never on this scale. Even the admiral felt a strange mix of anticipation, concern. The royal fleet was a weapon forged to shatter worlds and boil oceans. Under Veximal's command, it would erase resistance like a tidal wave. The humans wouldn't even understand what had happened until it was too late. Yet beneath the thrill of command, concern stirred. Intelligence reports had labeled Earth as scarcely worth the effort. A lone inhabited world with fractured governments and technology barely advanced enough for interstellar travel. A single battle group could have subdued the planet. Deploying the entire royal fleet felt wasteful, even cruel. But King Zarok's orders were law. Veximal had survived countless campaigns by never questioning those orders. If the king wanted to make an example, then Earth would serve that purpose. Admiral said as tactical officer. Final squadron is in formation. All ships report. Ready for hyperspace. Veximal nodded and activated the fleet-wide comms. His voice echoed across 2,000 ships, reaching over 1 million soldiers and crew. Warriors of the hegemony, he began. Today we bring the king's judgment to a distant world, a world that dares to exist without his consent. Let all who watch understand, no region of space is beyond our reach. Our victory will be swift. The resistance, meaningless. Roar surged across the fleet. Millions of voices raised in triumph. The crews aboard these vessels had been drawn from the most aggressive species in the hegemony, thriving on conquest. Bred to inspire fear. Prepare for hyperspace. Veximal ordered one by one. The enormous ships surged forward. Space around Velter Prime twisted as thousands of hyperspace drives engaged. Then, in flashes of bending starlight, as the royal fleet vanished, en route to a small blue world still unaware of its fate. From his throne room, King Zarok watched the final ship disappear. Soon the humans would understand the price of catching his eye. Soon another world would be reduced to a warning. The decision had been made. The fleet was in motion. In the vastness of space, the most powerful armada the galaxy had ever known, raced toward what should have been a simple conquest. Behind them, the galaxy waited in silent dread. Ahead of them was a world that would rewrite everything they believed about war. On the bridge of the United Earth Defense Command Station, Admiral Sarah Chen stood before the main display. Routine patrol reports lit up the screens. At 52, Chen had spent her life defending Earth. Rising from shuttle pilot to commander of humanity's space forces, this morning had begun like any other. Convoys moved between asteroid mines. Research craft drifted near the gas giants. Mars relayed standard operations. Peace blanketed the Sol system, as it had for 2 decades since humanity cracked faster-than-light travel. Then Lieutenant Commander Park at the sensor station spoke up. "Admiral, I'm picking up something unusual on the deep space array." Chen turned. Park was solid, unshakable. If he sounded concerned, it meant something serious. "What is it, Commander?" Park's fingers moved quickly across the console, bringing up a 3D display of the outer solar system. Red dots appeared, dozens of them at the edge of the screen. Hyperspace. Signatures. Admiral. Large ones. Multiple contacts. Chen's heart rate ticked up. Humanity had spent 20 years entering systems uninvited. Never the other way around. How many? Park's face went pale as more signals lit up. 50, no over 100. "Admiral, we're reading more than 500 contacts, and the count's still rising." The bridge fell silent. The hum of machines filled the void as they watched the numbers climb. 600. 800. Now, over 1,000. Chen leaned closer. "Are you sure these readings are real?" "Yes, Admiral. No anomalies. They're ship's big ones. Smallest is half a mile long." Park hesitated. "And some are. Nearly 10 miles in length." Chen's mind spun. She had studied every known fleet in the galaxy. Even the largest known vessels were smaller than these. What kind of force is this? "Give me the Defense Council. Priority channel." Within minutes, President Martinez appeared on Chun's main screen from Geneva, joined by Defense Secretary Williams and senior advisors. "Admiral, what's happening?" "Mr. President, we have an alien fleet entering our system, over 1,000 ships. No communications, no warning." Martinez's expression turned grim. "Any idea who they are?" "Not yet. But based on what we're seeing there, not here to talk." Defense Secretary Williams leaned in. "Admiral, what options do we have?" Chen didn't hesitate. "We need to activate the Omega protocols." Martinez nodded. "Do it." Chen turned to her comms officer. "Lieutenant Torres, transmit Omega Code 1 to all stations. Authentication. Sarasavan Savan Alpha." Torres typed rapidly. Signals burst from Earth, spreading at light speed through the system. Outwardly, the messages looked routine system maintenance updates, standard pings to mining and research posts. But they carried a secret meaning. On Ceres, the largest asteroid in the belt, Station Administrator Jackson received the code. He had been preparing for this moment for 15 years, hoping it would never come. He walked to a wall panel, placed his palm on a scanner. Concealed door hissed open, revealing an armory filled with forbidden tech. "This is Ceres control to all stations. Omega protocol is now active. Proceed to assigned positions." Across the belt, similar scenes unfolded. Mining platforms awakened. Massive containers unfolded, revealing hidden weapons. Robotic workers reconfigured themselves into defense. Drones. On Europa, Jupiter's moon, Dr. Kim was analyzing ice samples when her terminal chimed. One glance at the Omega code was all it took. She sealed her lab and descended in a hidden elevator to a facility that officially didn't exist. One that housed Earth's most advanced experimental systems. "Jupiter Defense Station coming online," she reported. "All systems green." Back aboard UEDC station, Admiral Chen reviewed status reports flooding in. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. The Omega protocols were humanity's last line plans forged in secret over decades. The galaxy saw Earth as weak. In truth, humanity had been listening, watching, preparing. Ever since they joined the galactic stage, Earth had been quietly gathering in Talon, the hegemony, their expansion, their war strategies. They knew it was only a matter of time before someone came to claim Earth. Admiral Park called out, "The alien fleet is advancing. They're heading straight for Earth." Chen nodded. "ETA. At current speed adding hours." "Plenty of time," she replied, as the invaders closed in. War Admiral Veximal stood on the bridge of the Crimson Death. The journey from Velter Prime had taken 3 weeks. Now his crew hungered for battle. "Report," he ordered, his sensor officer. A reptilian named Stack hissed as he read the data. "We've entered the target system. 1 inhabited planet, approximately 7 billion life forms. Minimal resistance detected. Roughly 200 vessels, mostly civilian." Veximal's smile returned. The reports had been right. This would be over quickly. "Open a channel too." "The planet," he said. The comms officer nodded. "Channel open, Admiral." Veximal straightened his posture. This was his favorite part, the moment the enemy understood their fate. "Primitive inhabitants of the Third World," he declared, his voice commanding. "I am War Admiral Veximal of the Royal Hegemony Fleet. Your world has been selected for integration. Surrender immediately and prepare for processing. Resistance will lead to total annihilation." He waited. Usually there were pleas, offers, panic, but this time something was different. Usually they begged. Sometimes they simply fell silent, paralyzed by fear. But the response from Earth was like nothing Veximal had ever heard. A human woman appeared on screen. She wore a military uniform unfamiliar to the hegemony, and her face showed no fear, only calm resolve. "Unknown vessels," she said evenly. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Command. You have entered sovereign human space and issued threats. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." The bridge of the Crimson Death burst into laughter. Officers howled at the absurdity, this primitive species issuing threats against the Royal Fleet. "Did she just threaten us?" asked Commander Vex, incredulous. "I believe she did," Veximal replied, wiping his eyes. "How delightful.
Oh, nice.
It's been centuries since anyone was bold enough to be this foolish." He activated the comms again. "Human Admiral," he said mockingly. "Don't seem to understand. I command 2,000 warships. Your planet has 200 small ships, if that. Surrender now, and perhaps a few of your kind will be spared as labor." Chen didn't flinch. "Admiral Veximal," she replied, "you have exactly 1 hour to leave this system. If you remain, we will consider your presence an act of war." Laughter doubled in volume. Veximal raised a hand to quiet his officers. "1 hour?" he sneered. "Very well. I'll give you 1 hour to watch my fleet descend upon your world. Then you'll learn what it means to defy the hegemony." He turned to his tactical officer. "Advance. Standard battle formation. Let them see what real power looks like." The Royal Fleet surged forward in flawless formation. Warships dreadnoughts at the center, flanked by cruisers and destroyers. Fighter wings swarmed in tight spirals, a storm of precision and menace. It was a display of might that had shattered countless civilizations. But as the fleet moved deeper into the Sol system, something unexpected happened. Admiral hissed Stack, his reptilian officer. "The asteroid field dash, it's ... moving." Veximal frowned. "Moving?"
Yes, sir.
"The asteroids are repositioning, and I'm detecting large energy readings from multiple points. Asteroids don't move on their own. Check the instruments." "Instruments are fine, Admiral. And there's more. Unidentified objects emerging from the atmospheres of gas giants." On the tactical display, markers shifted rapidly. What had seemed like asteroids and debris were revealing hidden engines and weapons arrays, sir, called his comms officer. "Incoming transmission from the human admiral." Chen appeared again. This time there was a trace of anticipation in her voice. "Admiral Veximal," she said coolly, "your hour is up. You chose not to leave. Earth's defense systems are now active. I advise you to reconsider." Veximal was about to reply when his ship's alarms erupted. His display flared red with new contacts, thousands of them. "What am I looking at?" he barked. "Over 10,000 contacts," Admiral Stack said, stunned. "Armed vessels." Weapons platforms, structures. They were hidden. They're everywhere. Veximal's mouth went dry. Intelligence reports were wrong devastatingly. Wrong. Earth was no helpless backwater. This was a fortress. A trap. Open comes, he snapped. Admiral Chun, perhaps we can negotiate. Her face appeared again, colder than before. That time is over, Admiral. You came here to conquer Earth. Let's see how that goes. The trap had closed. The royal fleet, the pride of the hegemony, was caught. Veximal turned back to his display in disbelief. A moment ago, space had been quiet. Now, over 10,000 human vessels had appeared, many disguised as rocks or debris. This isn't possible, he muttered. They were supposed to be primitive. Commander Vex approached with a datapad. Admiral, new scans. Confirm the asteroids. Their weapons platforms. Camouflaged railguns. The mining containers. Hidden missile pods. Even their orbital stations armed. Veximal stared at the readings. The weapons disguised as infrastructure were extensive, carefully placed, coordinated, built over decades. How long have they been planning this? You don't know, sir. But a long time. And for the first time in centuries, War Admiral Veximal felt something he had forgotten. Certainty. Sir, the comms officer called. We're detecting a signal. It's a countdown, being broadcast on all frequencies. Countdown. To what? We don't know. On Earth, deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Chen stood at the heart of a command center designed in total secrecy. For 50 years, it had been prepared for this moment. All stations report ready, announced Commander Rodriguez. Jupiter. Defense grid online. Outer perimeter platforms charged. Chen activated the fleet-wide channel. All units. This is Admiral Chen, she began. Today we face the greatest threat in our history. They came expecting weakness. They believed Earth would fall without resistance. She paused. Around her, the control room stood silent, every officer focused, ready. But they were wrong. For 50 years, we've prepared. We've studied our enemies, learned their methods, built defenses in plain sight. Today, we fight back. Today, humanity stands together, and we do not bow. On the crimson death, Veximal seethed. These upstarts dared speak to him with such arrogance? Enough, he snarled. Target the moon. Ready the planet killer. His weapons officer, a towering brute, worked the controls. Planet killer charging, target locked. Veximal's cold smile returned. The planet killer was the fleet's most destructive weapon, capable of annihilating any target. He would obliterate the moon first. Then Earth would understand hopelessness. Fire when ready. The cannon at the bow of the Crimson Death glowed ominously. Energy surged across its systems as ships cleared its line of fire. But before it could, discharge Earth struck first, far beneath Europa's surface. Commander Sarah Kim stood at her control station in what was officially a research outpost. In truth, it was one of Earth's most advanced weapons labs. Target their flagship, she ordered. Full power to the kinetic accelerator. Projectile loaded, her engineer confirmed. Mass, 10,000 kilograms. Velocity, 15%. Light speed. What launched from Europa was nothing more than a metal rod, no explosives. No warhead, just mass and speed. But that was all it needed. The projectile crossed space in seconds. On alien sensors, it appeared as a harmless blip, far too small. To matter, they were wrong. The rod struck the Crimson Death like a wrathful god. The kinetic energy was immense. The ship's shields, designed for energy blasts, were useless. The projectile tore through the hull like it was paper. The impact vaporized entire decks. The front third of the ship became plasma. On the bridge, Veximal was thrown from his command station. Lights failed. Ship groaned. Report. He shouted. Hull breach across decks 1 through 50! Someone screamed. Primary systems. Our offline navigation, weapons, life support all? Gone. Veximal stared at the smoke. They'd been crippled by a single shot. How? But that was only the beginning. Across the asteroid belt, hundreds of hidden railguns roared to life. Each one smaller than Europa's cannon, but fast, deadly, and relentless. Years of careful placement gave them perfect firing angles. The royal fleet, scattered and stunned, had no cover. Captain Vorth, commanding the 2-mile-long Iron Fang, barely reacted as the first kinetic round hit. The blast tore through his ship's shield and pierced the hull, obliterating weapon systems. And half his crew, "Return fire," shouted. But his weapons officer stared back, shaken. "Admiral, weapons are offline." And then, from the edge of the system to the orbit of Earth, the full fury of humanity's trap was unleashed. "Offline, Captain. Preventing atmosphere from 12 breach points." That cry echoed across dozens of alien ships. Similar scenes played out fleet-wide. The humans' kinetic weapons were unlike anything the galaxy had ever encountered. Most space combat involved energy weapons, deflectable, containable. But these projectiles hit like meteors. No shield system could stop them. War Admiral Veximal tried to regain control from the bridge of his crippled flagship, but it was chaos. His fleet, designed to dominate conventional adversaries, had no answer to the humans' unconventional warfare. "All ships, evasive maneuvers," he barked. "Get us clear of their range." But there was no escape. The weapons platforms encircled them. Every vector of retreat came under fire. Each attempt to maneuver only exposed more flanks to more kinetic volleys. From a command center on Ceres, Commander Jackson observed the carnage unfold on his tactical display. "They're trying to break out," he said. "Focus fire on the cruisers. Target their engines. Don't let them flee." Hundreds of weapons platforms in the asteroid belt responded in synchronized salvos, hammering critical engines and forcing the alien formation to collapse. But Admiral Chen wasn't finished. From Jupiter's clouds came Earth's next revelation, what the aliens had dismissed as research stations and gas. Miners were in fact warships, dozens of them hidden for decades beneath the swirling storms. Admiral Chen had kept her trump card secret until the right moment. The hidden fleet emerged. These were no standard warships. They were built for this very battle, custom designed to exploit the hegemony's weaknesses. At the front was the UEES Defiance, commanded by Captain Maria Santos. Her ship was small compared to the massive alien dreadnoughts, but its arsenal was far more advanced. "All ships engage," Santos ordered. "Move fast, strike hard. Let's show them what happens when you threaten Earth." Her fleet attacked. From behind, boxing the enemy between the kinetic platforms and this new armada. But these weren't kinetic weapons. These ships carried something even worse. Santos locked onto a hegemony dreadnought. Her main weapon fired. Nothing visible. No flash, no explosion. Yet inside the alien ship, horror unfolded. The weapon was a localized gravitational manipulator, developed in the labs beneath Europa, twisted the very fabric of space inside the ship. The dreadnought began to crumple under the unnatural stress. Bulkheads twisted like paper. Gravity reversed, then fractured. Crew were crushed, or thrown through the air. The hull folded in on itself, and the vessel imploded without a single external strike. Across the battlefield, similar effects tore through enemy ships. Earth's weapons weren't just destructive, they were incomprehensible. On the bridge of the Crimson Death, Veximal watched helplessly. "Admiral," cried his communications officer, "we've received surrender transmissions from over 30 ships. Captain Zor's cruiser is breaking formation, attempting to flee." Veximal's tactical display confirmed it. Ships that had once led planetary conquests were now scattered wrecks or trying to escape. "The Royal Fleet," he muttered, "terror of the galaxy. Undone in a single day." "Emergency hyperspace jump," he barked. "All ships, retreat. 2 safe coordinates. Authorization, Crimson 7. But even that was denied. His navigation officer turned pale. "Hyperspace systems are unresponsive, sir. Something is disrupting the calculations." "What do you mean disrupting?" "Localized. Space-time interference. You can't form a stable corridor." The realization hit Veximal like a gut punch. They weren't just being destroyed. They were being trapped beneath the Martian surface. Dr. Elena Rodriguez monitored the hyperspace disruption array. For 15 years, she had reverse-engineered, captured hegemony FTL tech and built something better. Generators operating at 98%. She reported to Admiral Chen. No hyperspace travel larger than a shuttle is possible. Chen's voice crackled back. Excellent work, Doctor. Maintain the field. We can hold it indefinitely, Admiral. It was one of Earth's deepest secrets, a full-system hyperspace interdiction net. By fusing alien theory with human innovation, Earth had made the impossible real. They could now lock a star system no one in, no one out. But Earth still wasn't done. Commander Yuki Tanaka waited inside a hollow asteroid, her fighter hidden among 1,000 others. The formation was called the Swarm. Each fighter was AI-controlled, but not like Alien A is. These were something different. Taught to be unpredictable, creative, aggressive. Their minds connected across an encrypted quantum mesh, reacting as one, thinking as many. Swarm leader to all units, Tanaka said. Target enemy fighters. Remember, they're faster. We're smarter, no solo acts. We fight as one. The Swarm launched. They move like ghosts, impossible vectors, impossible speeds. Alien fighters tried to intercept. The human craft dodged and reappeared where they were least expected. Squadron leader Krex had flown for 50 years. His fighter was fast, his reflexes legendary, yet he couldn't land a single shot. There. Predicting our movements? He screamed. How is that posy? He never finished. A human fighter appeared behind him and deployed a cloud of tungsten pellets spread wide, tight pattern. His shields, optimized for lasers, were useless. The hull shattered instantly. Across the battlefield, the Swarm carved through alien squadrons. With terrifying coordination, each move was deliberate. Each kill efficient. The hegemony's elite pilots were overwhelmed, reduced to glowing wreckage. Back aboard Crimson Death, Veximal watched his fighter screen vanish. With no fighter cover, his capital ships were now exposed to the full fury of Earth's arsenal. And then the final blow. Admiral, said his sensor officer, his voice shaking. Massive energy buildup from Earth. Planetary scale, it appears. To be a weapon. Veximal froze. Planetary weapons are myths. No civilizations ever had the power. But the readings were real. The energy signatures coming from Earth's magnetic poles were beyond comprehension. The entire planet glowed with restrained energy. At the top of the world, Dr. Michael Chong stood inside the Excalibur Araya facility buried beneath the North Pole. Power at 100%, he reported. Target locked. Alien flagship. Ready on your command. Admiral Chen looked at her final display. The trap had worked. The fleet was broken. Fire. The beam fired silently. It crossed the solar system in seconds. No visible light, just gravimetric distortion. When it struck Crimson Death, the result was instant annihilation. Its shields vaporized. Its hull built to withstand starfire melted. Its reactor overloaded and detonated. The Royal Fleet's flagship terror of the galaxy ceased to exist. A superheated cloud of gas was all that remained. But Veximal wasn't aboard. In the final moments, he'd escaped in a pod, abandoning his ship, his crew, his legacy, now drifting through the battlefield. He watched the impossible unfold again. And again, ships that had raised worlds were reduced to debris. Weapons they didn't understand were reshaping the nature of warfare. This is impossible, he whispered. We studied them. They were nothing. But even he now saw the truth. The humans had never been weak. They had pretended to be. They had deceived the galaxy. They had prepared waiting, watching for this exact moment. Every data leak, every probe, every captured image. Lies. All of it, a masterstroke of disinformation. Captain Stantos of the Defiance pursued a squadron of retreating alien cruisers. 2 were already disabled by gravity distortion. The 3rd tried to escape. Target their engines, she said. Take them alive if possible. Someone needs to carry the story back, because Earth wasn't just winning. Earth was sending a message, and every corner of the galaxy would soon hear it. The gravity beam struck the alien cruiser's engines, folding the rear section like a crushed tin can. The ship drifted powerless, its systems failing, but life support held. The crew was trapped. Alive, Captain Maria Santos opened a channel. Alien. Vessel, this is Captain Santos of the United Earth Defense Force. Your engines are disabled. Surrender now, and you will be treated according to the laws of war. A shaken voice responded moments later. A young officer, his captain likely among the dead. We surrender, he said, defeat thick in his voice. Please, no more killing. Across the battlefield, more transmissions like it came flooding in. The invaders who had arrived to enslave humanity were now begging for mercy. Admiral G. Saren reviewed the surrender reports from her command center. In under 6 hours, the once mighty Royal Fleet had been reduced from 2,000 warships to fewer than 50 still operational. The rest had been annihilated or crippled beyond repair. Admiral came a report from Commander Rodriguez. We're receiving a transmission from an alien escape pod. The sender claims to be their commanding officer. Put him through, Chen said. War Admiral Vexmill appeared on the screen. His once regal uniform was torn and stained. Once expression, once proud, was now hollow. Human Admiral, he said, I request safe passage for the survivors. We will withdraw and never return. Chen studied the defeated alien. Vexmill, she said coolly. The one who threatened to make Earth an example? I was following orders, he stammered. King Zarek commanded the attack. I bear no personal ill will. Following orders, Chen repeated. How many worlds did you burn under orders? How many species enslaved? Silence said enough. You'll return to your king, Chen continued. Tell him exactly what happened here. Tell him Earth is under human protection. Tell him that anyone who threatens us will share your fate. Vexmill nodded quickly. Yes, of course. We'll not trouble you again. Oh, Admiral, Chen said, her voice turning glacial. You misunderstand. You won't just leave Earth alone. You'll tell your empire that the age of conquest is over. Any world that asks for our protection will receive it, any species. Yearning to be free of your chains need only call our name. Vexmill's face went pale. You can't mean that. King Zarek will never, then he will suffer the same fate you did, Chen said. We know every world you've conquered, every species you've enslaved. We know where your king lives. We know how to get there. She leaned forward, eyes sharp. Tell your king, Earth remembers everything, and we are coming with justice. The shattered remnants of the alien fleet fled Earth, carrying news of their devastating defeat. But humanity's plan wasn't just defense, it was liberation. For 50 years, Earth had prepared to defend itself. Now it would free the galaxy. On Ilar Prime, capital of the hegemony. Silence ruled the crystal throne room. King Zarek sat motionless. 4 fists clenched, staring at a hologram of his docking bays. They were empty. 3 weeks earlier, it sent the royal fleet to crush Earth. 3 weeks since he'd expected to add another world to his empire instead. He watched the worst defeat in the history of the hegemony unfold. War Admiral Vexmill knelt before the throne. His uniform was torn, blood-stained. Behind him stood barely 300 surviving officers from the million who had left in triumph. Speak, Zarek commanded. Vexmill raised his head slowly. My lord, the royal fleet is destroyed. Of the 2,000 ships that entered the human system, only 47 returned. The rest were lost. Zarek's fingers cracked the throne's metal arms, destroyed by primitives. He rose to his full height, towering over the broken admiral. You expect me to believe that humans, a race that achieved FTL travel just 20 years ago, defeated my royal fleet? My lord, you were wrong. The humans are not primitive. They possess technology we can't even comprehend. They were waiting for us, preparing for this day for decades, maybe longer. They bypassed our shields, predicted our tactics. They trapped us in real space. Their smallest vessels destroyed our greatest dreadnoughts. We had no chance. Zarek's fury was volcanic. For 3,000 years, he had ruled through conquest. The royal fleet had been the symbol of his invincibility. Now it was ash. Where are the humans now? He asked through clenched teeth. We don't know, Vexmal said. They allowed survivors to leave. With a message? What message? They said Earth is under human protection. That any world requesting their help will receive it. They said the age of conquest is over. The throne room exploded in murmurs. No one had ever dared speak to King Zarek that way and lived. They dare, Zarek roared. They dare dictate terms to me, my lord, Vexmal whispered. They mean it. They have the strength to enforce it. If they come here, then we will be ready, Zarok bellowed. Summon every ship, every sector, we will crush these humans. But even as he gave the order, new reports poured in. On Kepler to 7. Governor Thane received a transmission in a frequency long dismissed as irrelevant human noise. Now he understood. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Command, the message said. We know your world has suffered under hegemony occupation for 200 years. We offer you freedom. Thane, stunned, asked, You destroyed the royal fleet? We didn't. We're prepared to help any world that wants to be free. You don't have to live in fear anymore. Within hours, rebellions erupted across Kepler 7. Demoralized occupation forces buckled under a population that suddenly believed freedom was possible. Similar scenes unfolded across dozens of worlds. Enslaved civilizations once silent rose up, and Earth stood with them, back on Prime. King Zarek watched the galaxy slip through his fingers. Rebellion reports came hourly. Entire sectors were declaring independence. Fear, the glue that held the hegemony together, had dissolved. How? He demanded of his intelligence chief, Villa. How does one defeat and destroy everything? My lord, your rule was built on fear. The royal fleet was the instrument of that fear. With its destruction, the illusion of invincibility shattered. Then we will rebuild fear, deploy the home fleets. Vila hesitated. We need them here. We've received intelligence that human ships are operating across multiple sectors, supporting the uprisings and winning. For the first time, Zarek felt a real fear. Humanity wasn't just defending Earth, they were dismantling his empire. Captain Santos stood on the bridge of UES, his defiance as it dropped from hyperspace into the Altier system. Below them lay New Harmony, a peaceful world enslaved for 50 years to feed the Empire's war machine. 12 hegemony vessels in orbit, her tactical officer reported. Loading cargo from the surface, signaled the lead ship, Santos. Ordered, standard liberation protocol. Aboard the Void Hunter, Captain Drex sneered. 1 human vessel? Outnumbered 12 to 1? This is Captain Santos, came the reply. Withdraw immediately or face consequences. Drex laughed. You'll be destroyed. You have 30 seconds, Santos said coolly. Then her sensor officer gasped. Multiple hyperspace contacts? Incoming? The system lit up with dozens of human warships emerging in flawless formation, encircling the hegemony vessels. Still want to discuss terms? Santos asked. Void Hunter surrendered without firing a shot. The liberation of New Harmony spread like wildfire for the first time in 3,000 years. A world had thrown off hegemony rule, and the humans had done it without a battle. King Zarek received new numbers daily, and each one was worse than the last. 17 sectors lost in the past week, Vela reported. Remaining fleets are requesting withdrawal. Ships remain? Zarek asked grimly. 800, my lord. Scattered. Overextended. A month earlier, he'd commanded over 10,000. Now he was surrounded by ruin. Then came the final blow. My lord, his comes officer said, pale. We're receiving a transmission from the humans. They're requesting an audience. From here, Velter Prime. Zarek's blood ran cold. How did they reach us undetected? Putting it through. Admiral Chen appeared on screen. Behind her, the bridge of a human flagship, filled with calm, confident officers. King Zarek, she said, we need to talk. You dare invade my system, he roared. I should destroy you for this insult. You're welcome to try. Chen replied, but I should mention we didn't come alone. Zarek activated his sensors. The space around Belter Prime was filled hundreds of human warships in perfect formation. His final fleet was surrounded. What do you want? Asked Hollow. Unconditional surrender. The dissolution of the hegemony. Immediate liberation of all slave worlds. Your abdication, and if I refuse, Chen gestured. A tactical display lit up Earth's fleet, outnumbered his 10 to 1. Then we remove you by force. Your choice. Grak looked around. His throne room at terrified officials, weary commanders. Even they were ready for it to end. The hegemony has ruled for 3,000 years, he said, and brought only suffering, Chen replied. That ends today. Zarek slowly removed his war crown and set it on the floor. The hegemony surrenders. Within days, the news spread. The empire was finished. Zarek was exiled under house arrest. His fleets disbanded. The hegemony collapsed. Worlds enslaved for centuries were suddenly free. Humanity became the galaxy's liberator. Trade flourished. Peace treaties were signed. Freed civilizations rebuilt, and at the center of it all stood Earth. Admiral Chen sent one final message. To every world, every species, every being who longs for peace, know this: you are not alone. Humanity stands ready. The darkness is ending. The dawn has come.